Right, I've got a couple of haiku from Gordon Thompson.
Hang on, I've got to close the door. Sorry, Peter, I've got a noise intrusion. So hang on. Sorry. Right. Right, sorry.
That's right.
I'm going to mute now, like everyone should. Okay.
Right, a couple of haiku from Gordon Thompson. Yee-haw with country, our Jim lad with the pirates, your Philip Glass. And spring forward, fall back, how dad taught us the clock change, for him no more change. And a poem from Joe Sanders, Far Reaching. Russian porcelain, a peasant girl captured in the act of singing, arms raised expressively, her mouth open, cross-legged, a blue swirl of movement. My mind meanders, I think of Penelope, for 20 years sitting on the rocks at Ithaca, arms stretching into the wind, beseeching Athena, believing still in the return of Odysseus. So many arms lifted through time to reach for the unattainable, implore the impossible, arms poised to strike, permission to speak, an extended arm salute that sent millions to their deaths, arms that positioned a crown with thorns instead of jewels. That's from Joe Sanders.
Excellent, excellent. And Gordon, succinct and witty, I thought. Yes. Welcome, Heather and Mohammed. Nice to see you both.
Sorry I'm late.
No, we're still waiting for a few people actually, so don't worry too much. But you do happen to, oh no, we've got Steve is on next, Steve Rushton, and then you're after him, Heather, if that's okay with you. All right. I don't want to rush you with it, but if you're ready, I think. Okay, Steve, fire away.
Yeah, hi everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, greetings from the Isle of Wight. I'm here now and the weather's nice. Come on down. I'd like to read 3 poems from a contemporary Polish poet that I'm kind of editing, translating with Anna Maria Mickiewicz, and she's going to publish a book of his poetry. And this guy's name is Julius Erasm Bolek. He's got quite an interesting CV. He's in the Guinness Book of Records for writing the longest poetry collection, and he writes poems that hang around your neck and all sorts of things. But this is a series of his called The Garden, and there are 18 poems on the theme of the garden, and I'll just read 3 of them, if that's okay. Let me just find them. Garden 2. I'm back in a forgotten garden. It's safe here, quiet here. No one is fighting with me, even though I'm an intruder. I love love and its red colour. I pick dry little wild cherries. I open my hand and dance with loneliness, dance with silence. From beyond the horizon, she is watching me with her enchanted eye. The mysterious sun, crowns of withered trees, proud and peaceful, awaiting the end of the world. He is with me, my faithful shadow, and good memories of summer boiling with kisses and caresses, although maybe only I thought so. I have reached the most important part. Ivy and bindweed entwine my thoughts. I won't get away anymore. The grass has grown high. I will not find in her the lucky clovers. I can't see the path. I have come down, investigating the approaching fog. Maybe before it reaches, I'll guess how many more gardens wait. Garden 3. In the garden, forgotten by all, I'm alone. The crickets murmur their stories, causing the sun to seem hotter. Trees' limbs are burned by its rays and take on a golden glow. Every attempt, every step attempts to quench a thirst. every next one, the hope of the seeker, killing doubt, coming from the sun. They are watching me, exploring eyes. I wave my hands, but have no answer. In the old gardens, no overgrown bushes, railway tracks, that's true, they're mine. I follow their footsteps. Garden 4. About gardens, they forget not only people, but also God. There is a garden which still lives in my memory, falls asleep in the autumn, wakes up in spring, but every morning is different from my garden. Nobody looks, no one but you knows its existence. Garden of memories and dreams, everything happens here. What gardeners don't find, I find in the trees, the golden shade of hair, in autumn grasses, the smell of love, in sky blue eyes. The garden becomes wilder, more flowers and forest trees, more and more often birds and woodland animals, so much peace, every thought flies towards the sun. Thank you.
Steve, that's remarkable for someone whose first language isn't English. Beautiful poems. Very
Yeah,
good.
it's my translation that obviously made it so good, John.
Oh, I see. Well done, both of you. Okay, well, there's a compliment to you as well. Okay, thank you. Welcome, who joined us just now? Someone did and gone away again. Jim. Okay, Jim, speak to you shortly. Heather, you good to go? Unmute, and then you're good to go. That's it.
It's one of my own. It's called Mines of Misery. The mud on her hands dry where she rests, whilst masters of white watch with careless. Black and brown hands burrow till dusk, as fat man counts treasures such that he must. Childish ones dive deeper in dirt, concealing frustration, pain and the hurt. Few pennies per mouth will feed for a crust, good fortunes of torture as need marries must. Another full moon will pass with a wink, another babe born as its sibling sinks deeper in wear, the wise and the wants. Their pittance of luck strikes loud like a clock. Glories unearthed this new night shall find, the corporate egos together entwined, counting their riches from dawn until dusk, whilst families in shacks moan their ill luck. To flee this habit, new lands must he go, when the mark on the door sees her now grown. Let greed be your fate, now fat is your girth, then yours shall be theirs when comes the new earth. That's it.
Amazing. Great poem, Heather, great poem.
Thank you.
Have you got another one for us, or are you going to do part 2? Or...
I'll do one in part 2.
Okay. That poem, I don't know if anyone heard it, but there was a wonderful play on Radio 4 this week about an exploited worker who'd gone to, Doha to build the football stadium. And they took his passport away and paid him peanuts, and it was basically slavery going on right now. It was a wonderful play, and I thought it's great that writers can do that, can actually point out how people are exploited like that, even now. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Juna, Steve, how are you going?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
This one's called Snooker. Snooker is my favorite game. I used to go to snooker hall. with my best friend in West Bromwich, where I was when I was younger. Being a very able sports person, I was influenced to go when Pop Black first came on TV. Initially playing, it was difficult as it's not one of the easiest games to play. When, however, I got playing, the technique of holding the cue and bridging your hand had to be right to have a good contact with the ball. Snooker was fastly becoming my favorite game, and I was a regular at the 2 snooker halls in West Bromwich. Sometimes I would go on my own and practice. Me and my best friend, we became very competitive against each other, and the games were close. Years ago, my favorite snooker player was Ria Reardon. At that time, snooker was a game for the older person until a leash of popularity took over the game, and now you have tremendous players. My highest break is 32, which is all the colors I cleared in one go on one occasion. And this one is called Favorite Film. My favorite film of all time has got to be the classic Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, starring Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Watching it for the first time when I was younger really caught my attention. This was a role where Bette Davis was wicked to her sister Joan Collins, who was bound in a wheelchair. They were both star actresses. Then Joan Crawford had an accident. Bette Davis was jealous of her sister's predominant roles, and being the jealous sister, the act of evil she perpetrated on her sister was horrible. The role suited Bette Davis. She was one of the Hollywood incredible female actresses, and she played the evil sister role brilliantly. I was so attuned to this film from start to finish. I was watching it with my dad in West Bromwich. Over the years, it was fastly becoming my favorite #1 film. A good contender for this was another film called A Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino. This too was a phenomenal film that also captivated me when I first saw it. The film leaves you horse-spanked with great storylines. Thank you, George.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's kind of a female version of Cain and Abel, wasn't it? The Bette Davis film. It's amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, thanks for that. And you always bring up these memories from long ago, and you put them in a very nice way to us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Norman, are you ready?
Can you hear me, George?
Coming through loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Well, I've got a couple for the first half and possibly 1 second, but tonight I'm going to read a couple of short ones. They're both influenced by, well, in my family, my father's mother was called Granny and my mother's mother was called Grandma. And these two that I'm going to read tonight are influenced by my granny. And if you just remember when you were probably in primary school, and if you visited in my case, you'll be the same. You visited your granny or grandma. She's in the kitchen, you know, brewing up a pot of tea, and having bought some cream cakes from a baker for my special visit. And I always remember how quiet it was in the lounge, except for the ticking clock. So that influenced me. And what I've done with this one is just conveyed things that happen in life, and where you can sit, myself included, sometimes in total silence, except for the ticking of the clock. So this one's called Silence, Save the Ticking of the Clock. Whatever the circumstance, it does not matter. Grappling with the lonesome soul. Struck by a stroke, an immigrant in the nursing home. Distressed, crying, confused inmates break into the silence, save the ticking of the clock. Staring through the haze of wine, blanket wrapped in bitter cold, begging for some change in pence against the backdrop of a starry night, as black cabs rattle across the cobbles, breaking the nighttime silence, save the ticking of the town clock. Widowed like a bolt of lightning, no warning, no training, no coaching on how to face loving bereavement. An empty chair, memories of bygone conversations, a lover, best friend, and soulmate, silenced, save the ticking of the clock. Self-inflicted silence, fueled by a stagnating relationship, conflict and bitter debate during divorce proceedings, left with broken bonds like splintered glass on a bar room floor, remnants of the emotional struggle that led to the enforced silence. Now on a cold and empty night behind closed doors, silence, save the ticking of the clock. For some, a chosen path that leads to a private solo existence. And when the door closes after the rigors of the day, they are surrounded by the sounds of silence, save the ticking of the clock.
Wow.
The second one, slightly more jovial, same granny. When she was in her 70s, she finally sort of gave in and went to the doctor, who she'd known for about 25, 30 years, because she had a very, very painful knee. Because he knew her so well, he kind of joked with her and said that she just too many birthdays. Anyway, this one's called Too Many Birthdays. Dressed in black, your Sunday best, with snow white hair, you start your quest and visit your doctor to put your mind at rest. A painful knee that's now debilitating. The pain will not subside and is truly grating. The doctor comforts, examines, and compassionately says, I'm afraid it's wear and tear and too many birthdays. With diagnosis complete and treatment via a knee injection, you leave, fingers crossed, acknowledging his best intention. But then you remember how you walked to school 1 mile and more across highland tracks until your feet were sore. Throughout the seasons, excluding midwinter, then homeschooling took place in the Highland Hinter. You remember the boiler washes and laundry outhouses behind the cottages with warm, fresh beds where you scrubbed the doorstep and swept the linoleum floors, carried the coal and stoked the fire from morning to night, then to bed retire. You remember how you dreaded the postman delivering the brown envelope from military brass, bringing news of World War II conflict, confirming your husband's wounded pass. You remember how you brought up 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, sharing hand-me-downs, how you felt like a pauper. You remember when all vegetables were rationed, so you dug the garden, you sowed the seed, the grape, the potatoes, a staple need. You stoked the stove and stirred the broth and handled the pots and pans with your scorched dishcloth. All this and much more. Many years have passed by. You reluctantly accept just too many birthdays. That's the reason why. Thank you.
Great poems, great poems. The last one was very moving. You know, it showed what hard life some of our parents and grandparents had. It wasn't easy. Thank you, Norman. And the first one had some lovely metaphors, the splintered glass, splintered bones sort of metaphor in a relationship. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vivian, what have you got for us?
Yep. Okay, I've got 2 poems tonight from the New Croydon Poetry Hour anthology. Lovely front cover. Thank you, Alan. There are 2 of my poems that I've got to read this evening. One of them was on the theme of we were given poems or poetry. And I wrote one called On Writing Poetry, and this is it. Writing a poem can be hard or easy, depends upon many things. Subject matter, point of view, whatever makes a line sing. Putting pen to paper, writing it all down. Editing takes ages. Satisfaction never quite found. It's part of being a writer, never quite liking what we see. Though it's down to you, the reader, to decide, is this poem for me? Whether haiku, poem, or sonnet. Doesn't matter what form it takes. It all goes down on paper, including the mistakes. But one thing for sure with us poets, whatever the theme at the start, we'll keep going right till the end. We always write straight from the heart. A lot of that I think is true. It's certainly true of me anyway. And the other one I've got, I think it was, the theme was times of day. And I wrote about mornings. And my poem is called Untouched Day. First thing in the morning, slow wake up. Listen to nature's voice permeate the silence. No man-made sounds at this hour, just gentle bird song, the occasional animal call. I lie in the beginnings of the dawn, watch the sun begin its day in the east, shimmering on my horizon. Nothing moves at this moment. No people or vehicles to spoil the peace. I can just listen to the landscape waking up before drifting off into slumber again. When I next wake, I hear cars, conversation, maybe a phone ringing somewhere. The natural world drowned out by man. Thank you.
Well done, Vivian.
Thank you.
You captured what a lot of poets feel, and you captured a moment in the last one as well. So
Thank you very much.
Bit of capturing there. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Jim, what have you got for us, Jim, please?
Two poems. The first is called Portrait of a Gambler in a Local Betting Shop. I don't actually gamble myself. I go in to watch the football because I can watch it for free on these screens. And occasionally I make a bet like 50 pence. Gives me a bad reputation, I suppose. But you meet some interesting people, actually, some very addicted people. Portrait of a Gambler in a Local Betting Shop. He seeks always the delirious prospect of self-destitution, as if it were a mother's impending embrace. Learns to engage with and respect fallen angels who glory in their losses like Christian martyrs. He feels redeemed and consoled by the silent, awestruck pity of other gamblers, and feigns stoic indifference to initiates who scream abuse and attack slot machines with metal stools. Yet he yearns to leap, intact and brightly shining from the all-consuming jaws of addiction, longs to pursue redemption scenarios and the abiding wonder of spiritual rebirth. But after a big win, he is seduced and transfigured by hosannas announcing his planetary importance, and derides the impending oblivion of time wasters who have never taken risks, have never truly lived. So he ponces from others and is likewise pounced upon as he pursues multiple Odysseys and Golgothas, his ears forever attuned to myriad siren voices. And as a notorious non-gambler, I watch on, impassively, entranced, priggish, and mournful. We exchange words devoid of meaning, and he leaves. The second poem is, in that particular poem, I used quite a lot of references to mythology, etc. And it made me think of Larkin, Philip Larkin, who talked about the old myth kitty. You know, poets should not be using the myth kitty. It should be sort of writing contemporarily, and I agree with that up to a point. But still, so this poem is called That Old Myth Kitty. I'll partly say it and partly sing it because it's based on a song which you probably will know fairly quickly. So that old myth kitty, that old myth kitty, kitty has me in its spell. That old myth kitty Larkin knew so well. Ghostly whispers from a world gone by. Those same old cliches from the mists of time. Those same old voices gonna need a rhyme. When imagination starts to fly, back and forth I go, seeking high and low, like a man with nowhere much to go. I should know better, but I'm lost for words. Hear those voices saying I'm absurd, dizzied by hope, with my soul on fire. Upwards I go, higher and higher. You have the words I've been waiting for, words on a plate I've been so aching for. Every time your mind meets mine, you fill my head with awesome rhymes as upwards with my muse I go, crooning sweet and crooning low. Face transfigured by a satisfied grin. Larkin is great, but the myth kitty wins. Larkin is great, but the myth kitty wins. Thank you.
Well done, Jim. You took a gamble on your singing there. It paid off.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's not singing, it's really intoning, I call it, intoning.
I was sure you would come out with, sweet myth kitty of life, at last I found you.
You know what the poem, what the song was it's based on?
What, with your one?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
What was it? What song is it based on then?
It's based on, my bloody memory's gone. It's based on, it's very well known. It was around about the 50s.
That old,
Say a few lines.
that old, sorry?
That old black magic
Magic.
has me in its spell.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
Old black magic has been its
Yeah,
spell.
I keep getting these bloody blanks lately. It's quite scary.
You're not the only one, George.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
Sometimes wonder what my name is.
We'll have to wear labels, won't we?
Oh,
Right,
it's Jim. I
now-
see it's on the screen. Jim, yes, that's me. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to refer now to Mohammed, who used to be Boris Johnson, but I don't know who he's transferred his allegiance to someone else, Liz Truss or something. Mohammed, we have your
I think
outline, but not your
I
face.
sent a message saying he's having dinner at the moment.
Oh, okay. We'll look forward to him in part 2 then. Okay, we're dying out on that one. Right. So we can go to Alan. Hi, Alan.
Hi there. I've got a couple here for you. One of them's a bit of a seasonal one, but I'm a little bit late because, just because suddenly we've disappeared out of October. Anyway, this is called Let Battle Commence. It's that time of year again as they fall to the floor. Gather them up and take them home. It's time to settle old scores. Get your dad's old drill or your mum's meat skewer. Drill a hole straight through the middle and push your skewer through her. Thread it now on an old shoelace or a thick piece of string. Get out on the street with your mates and let's get conquering. There's debris here, there's debris there. It's all over the street. Shattered bits of conker lay all around our feet. In the playground, in the park, it doesn't matter where you are. Challenges when your victories mount up come from near and far. A 5er, 6er, 7er, your best conqueror now is smashed. Put your hand into your pocket, rethread a new one from your stash. Some kids like to dry them out by baking them in the oven. Some kids soak them in vinegar. It's all about the winning. My latest victor lies on the shelf just above my head. All my victories and losses are now running in through my head. My hands are really bruised. I have red burns on my hands that sting, all caused by the bangs of conkers and the friction from the string. Of course, you can't play conkers today due to health and safety. Another childhood fun thing gone. It really has got crazy. In this day and age, you'd now wear protective gloves and a hard hat with a face guard and high-vis jacket. So where's the fun in that? All the kids would look like Bob the Builder working on a building site. So there are no more exciting schoolboys looking for a conker fight.
Totally.
Thank you. And this one is a sort of combination of several stories. It's called Silver Blades, 1972. The music played, the room ice cold. Some moved with confidence, others hung around the edge, slowly pulling themselves along. Sensitive, they let go to glide several feet before grabbing the side again. Others move in a backward motion to the rhythm of the music, all wear bulky warm coats, some broadside to a halt after completing several laps. He sets off on his first solo mission, and gliding nervously, he loses his balance, reaches out for the nearest thing, a hand. 4 young girls tumble. He struggles to stay on his feet. His solo mission ends abruptly, flat on his back in the slush, his face reddening with embarrassment as a backward skater glides over his hand. In that moment, his wet embarrassment disappears as the ice turns red. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, cutting remark. Yeah. Conker season and skating as well. You're moving into Christmas, Alan.
Indeed.
Yeah, well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely. Now we're going to go to Peter, I think. Yes, Peter.
Right, I'm going to read 3 shortish poems by Norman MacCaig, a Scottish poet. First one, Blue tit on a string of peanuts. A cubic inch of some stars weighs 100 tons. Blue tit, who could measure the power of your tiny spark of energy? Your hair-thin legs, one northeast, one due west, support a scrap of volcano, 4 inches of hurricane. And seeing me, you make the sound of a grain of sawdust being sawn by the minutest of saws. And Basking shark. To stub an oar on a rock where none should be, to have it rise with a slouch out of the sea, is a thing that happened once, too often to me. But not too often, though enough. I count as gain that once I met on the sea tin-tacked with rain, that room-sized monster with a matchbox brain. He displaced more than water. He shoggled me centuries back. This decadent townee shook on the wrong branch of the family tree. Swish up the dirt, and when it settles, a spring is all the clearer. I saw me in one fling emerging from the slime of everything. So who's the monster? The thought made me grow pale for 20 seconds while, sail after sail, the tall fin slid away, and then the tail. And Wild Oats. Every day I see from my window pigeons up on a roof ledge. The males are wobbling gyroscopes of lust. Last week, a stranger joined them, a snow-white pouting fantail, Mae West in the Women's Guild. What becks, what crews, what demented pirouetting, what a lack of moustaches to stroke. The females, no need to be one of them to know exactly what they were thinking, pretended she wasn't there, and went dowdily on with whatever pigeons do when they're knitting. Norman MacCaig.
Very nice. Well read, Peter, as well.
Thank
Very
you.
lovely poems. Thank you. I mentioned earlier that my daughter phoned me and she said, Dad, I keep a diary of all my camper van journeys. She said, and I had this wonderful experience in Scotland, and I want you to write a poem about it so I can put it in my diary. So I wasn't just impressed by what she saw, but by what she felt. So this is what I wrote anyway. There was a time when the world stood still in balanced perfection. The loudest sound, a leaf dropping on water in a delicate falling. There was a time when my heart stopped beating and nature ruled, and nature ruled. When silver water showed dark shadow, beneath the flashing blue kingfisher, showed dark shadow beneath the flashing blue kingfisher, there was a time when I wished time itself to cease, when even a breath intruded, as the heart-faced otter asked me if I wished to see him dance. There was a time of times, a day like no other, as I watched his acrobatics, and a tawny owl wondered at my wonder. So it's an amazing sort of sequence of nature she saw there. I just felt for her. I used to, in the 60s, I worked in London in Craven Street, which run alongside Charing Cross Station. And prostitutes used to leave their cards in phone boxes. This is called Reflections on a Phone Box. In a grimy London phone box, not far from Charing Cross, I gazed through the film of glass panes and thought of women lost. Maisie's card promised a good time, just ring Mayfair 4162. Lizzie's was printed with scarlet lips, saying there's nothing she wouldn't do. Pearl's had a busty photo, saying her services were there to procure. And I thought of the paths they trod to make a living so insecure, the beatings, non-payments, cold pavements, the pox. Did all these amount to a card space in a grimy London phone box? Gosh. Anyway, we're halfway there. Break time, everybody.
Okay.
All on mute. So, if we could start, where's my list gone? Oh God, totally disorganized. Well, I'm going to abandon the list. I'm going to go to Heather, please, Heather, if you're ready.
Again, this is one of mine. It's called Who. Who? Me? Who you see? Oh, is not I, for the real I is not really me. For she whom you see is but a dress-up of me, that you perceive, hear, smell, and feel. For that I, glory be, serve each of your senses, your moods, moans, and groans. I indulge your frowns, steering you up or watching you drown. The am that it be hibernates in me, which is released upon when I sleep, where it performs the grandest of shows, rising, flying, swooping the heights, savoring delights amid colors so bright in black starry nights, till the bells they sound out to return to the flesh, where it once again waits to be finally at rest. That's it.
Amen.
Oops. Thank you, Heather. Lovely. As you missed the first half, Mohammed, can I put you on now, please?
Sure.
Right.
Right, so I was going to plan a series of poems to recite. I was going to start with some singing. Well, as I won't be here in December, because I'm going to Bangladesh in December, you know, like after 3 years, because COVID blocked me from going. So just start with a little Christmassy song. And so this is Christmas, and what have you done? Another year over, and a new one just begun. Well, I'm not going to carry on, but I was going to sing a few bars plus another song, but we'll move on to the poem. Okay, so right. Fog was followed by rain. So realism, basically the other day was very foggy, and even I was over in Benfleet and I couldn't see anything beyond a few, like a meter or something. And so it was extremely foggy, and it remained foggy until about 12:30 or something. So this is realism, fog followed by rain. Fog was followed by rain, which is right afterwards. In the following days, there were rainy days, rainy moments. Fog thick and without noise, wheels of the omnibus, modern day and with passenger voice turning for all of us. Seeing nothing in the distance, internalizing everything, no fuss. Modern days of must do and choice, no need to bicker or cuss. Rain incessant and sheet-like, drip-like, and in the cold country, wet people on scooty or bike, getting a chill from the sea. Sparing no dryness like lashing, dismissing any petition or plea. Sparing not the brick or tyke, Jill or Sam, Tom or Ollie. Fog and rain of the autumn thing, after the gnash of Johnson and Truss. Soaked gulls of free white wings, the music and musicians coining a new opus. Thank you. I think I may as well read another one before I start going into Boris. I'm just going to improvise Boris today. The Fighters, remembrance, this is a remembrance themed poem, The Fighters. They fought, sad or happy, like ancient warriors on endless battlefields under countable stars. Giving blood to soak the earth, they held back nothing, gave aggro and muscles strained. Near birds of firm wings. Face down on the ground, they could sense a phase. Fighting was their way and losing was never grace. That struggle did not cease. Death cannot hold back truth. It rained promises back then, no time or scope for ruth. They live, sad or happy, in the afterworld of tunes. We give them back some love, finding their light from the moons. And what would Boris say? I'm completely gratified to become the king of the poets. I am not insignificant, and I know it. And I have seen in front of my eyes the rise of the Nazi Party, in which obviously my chancellor has a part, and it is not RT. But what I shall do with the manipulation of the people is to make the young people rise and surprise with their aggro and their pretty damn bad show. But it's all part of the fun, and so we praise all terrorist sons. Thank you. I am the greatest poet. Okay, that's all from me.
Well, the ego has landed.
The ego has landed, yes.
Could I just add, Mohammed, that was brilliant. Oh, the poems and the takeoff. But your next task now is to take off Trump, because he is someone to take off.
I would like to build a beautiful wall. This wall will be between Sussex and Essex in order to prevent American workers from entering Kent. American workers must stay in America, and I love them in America because I love America.
Amazing.
And not just any wall, but the best wall, isn't it? It's got to be the best wall. Yes, well done, Mohammed. Thank you very much.
Thank
not
you.
lost your touch, have you? My goodness me. Norman, how you doing?
Well, how can I follow that? I mean, whatever Mohammed's on, I need some of it. Oh my God. That was very good, Mohammed. It's good to see you again, mate. Very good. Well, I do have something to read, guys. It's slightly different. I suppose it's a form of prose in that, but somebody was, who was it? The other Steve and Lorraine were asking where I live, and I live in Epsom Downs, exactly 1 mile from Epsom Grandstand, where they run the Derby.
Okay.
And if you live in this area locally, you get to know various, not celebrities, but infamous or famous people over the years. And because of the activists climbing up onto the bridge at, Dagenham and all the rest of it, whether you believe in that or not, I thought I'd dig this one out because it's been in the oven under various forms for many, many years. And it's my personal note and tribute to Emily Wilding Davison, the suffragette. And Emily, tragically, well, you'll know that she got knocked down by the King's Horse, and she died 4 days later in Epsom Cottage Hospital. So this is a personal note and tribute from me, because she was a fighter. So Emily, we never met. The passage of time kept us apart, but as I stand before your small plaque, surrounded by aging flowers, I feel your presence. On this very spot, the ghostly newsreels and media drooled over your injured body, a sacrifice to the cause. Some said you were a mad woman, but they did not wish to understand how a tall, slender, red-haired, green-eyed woman rose to become a schoolmistress, a governess, a university graduate, forfeiting romance, marriage, children, regular employment, and security to fight the cause. And so it was. As a suffragette, you battled with the authorities and politicians for the right for women to vote in national elections and not simply exist as the property of their husbands. Wasn't it a paradox that Queen Victoria ruled a third of the globe? After years of broken promises from politicians, you decided to up the stakes. The Epsom Derby, 4th of June, 1913. You were 40 years old when you stepped from your prime rail position towards the King's Horse, which was galloping at pace. You attempted to secure a letter to the horse or the jockey. Much more than that, a letter, a clarion call for the rights of women. Your brave endeavors hurled you 30 feet, your body tumbling, your flower-arranged hat rolling across the heavy-hoofed grass. All of this horror captured in a ghostly Tattenham Corner newsreel. A fractured skull and brain injuries eventually forced you to give up the fight. You died 4 days later in the Epsom Cottage Hospital. The verdict? Suicide, misadventure, martyrdom. Perhaps all three, eerily captured in your prophetic statement. To lay down for friends, that is glorious, selfless, inspiring, but to reenact the tragedy of Calvary for generations yet unborn, that is the last consummate sacrifice of the militant. I thank you. Now, it may be heavy. The point I'm trying to make is that she wasn't a mad woman. She was highly intelligent and she was driven. And throughout the ages, there are people like that, aren't there, Yeah. But I just have an affinity. I mean, the amount of times I've visited her plaque just up the road, it's not good, and she just took it to the extreme.
Brilliant poem, Norman. Thank you for that. It's really well written and well thought through. Powerful. Yeah. It's you don't normally write polemical poems, do you? Normally, most of your poems are about very ordinary things, really, in a way. But you've gone into new territory there, and it's a very powerful poem. Great stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm moved by that. I'm going to give. Who am I going to give? Alan the task of trying to follow that one.
Well, so this is something that I wrote, which was inspired after seeing the film They Shall Not Grow Old, which is the film by Peter Jackson, where he converted black and white photography from the First World War, and then he brought it it into colour and and also brought it up to real speed. But I've sort of kind of based this around, if you've not seen the film, over the film there's a lot of dialogue, but it's just the people that are within the film, and and people coming back from war, and it kind of, to me, it sort of kind of sums up a bit of the sort of craziness of it, really. So anyway, I've called it After. 1 minute past 11 on the 11th of November 1918, the sound of cannons diminished, like the sound of distant thunder. The captured Jerry was no longer the enemy. We sat together, laughing and joking, drinking tea. They were just lads like us, barbers and bakers, common folk. We slumped, relieved, and had a smoke. The silence was a mighty roar. We'd never heard that before. Now that the fighting was over, no one cheered. We were all so pleased to still be here. Finally, we marched our way to Boulogne, then got on a ship to Folkestone, followed by a train to Victoria, where we were demobbed. Out into the streets in our new suits, we were completely alone. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. There was no work, but some got their old jobs back. One fella said, "I haven't seen you in a while. Have you been on nights?" Madness. I bought a compilation book by Lem Sissay, and it took a little bit of getting into, but I really liked it. And he did a poem in there called Some Things I Like, and these are some things that I like. I like the smell of fresh cut glass. I like the smell of fresh cut glass. I like the sound of breaking glass. I like the feel of polished metal. I like the throb when brushed by a nettle. I like the taste of nice cold beer. I like the feeling when you are near. I like the sound of wind through the trees. I like the sound of waves and crashing seas. I like the cold upon my face. I like the surprise of a new place. I like the hum of bees on flowers. I like the minutes when they drag into hours. I like the smell of fresh ground coffee. I like the smoothness of a toffee. I like the smell of a new car. I like the pop when opening a new jar. I like the sound of children's laughter. I like the thought of the hereafter. I like the click as I turn out a light. I like the comfort when you say good night.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a very inspiring poet, Lem Sissay, isn't he?
Yeah, he was good.
I like the way he speaks up for foster children as well, and what they.
Yeah, in fact, actually, it was all a while ago, but I recorded it. But there was a very good interview with him on the television. There was also another one with Benjamin Zephaniah as well. So I don't know to get there, but they were really, really quite interesting, because they both came from sort of different backgrounds, but similar starts in life.
Yeah, that's true.
Interesting. And then, because we were talking about politics, this was actually this is the theme for tomorrow's Croydon poetry, and it was a bit of a sort of strange one. Anyway, it's called Lost Leaders, and I tried to. I'm not a particularly political person. I'm very much like my dad. My dad was a member of every political party, social club there was, because he knew he could get a cheap beer there. So I'm out of that mould. But this is called Lost Leaders. Lost leaders, little offerings to entice us in. Little empty promises in the super saver bin. Special offers offering great deals, and we believe they're real. But the more expensive treats tempt us and appeal. We think they are a bargain. We think it's what we need. We are sucked into the vortex, driven by unexpected greed. Lost leaders promise everything. They feed on us and our wants. They promise their false promises, and then, like smoke, they're gone. These politicians entice us with their lies, overindulging us with fantasy, promising to improve our lives. So having fallen in their trap, into their trap, it's now time to lament how we got suckered once again by those lost leaders and their governments.
All right.
Thank you.
Wouldn't argue with any of that, Alan. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, what have we got from you? Got any more for us, Steve?
Yeah, I've got two more, George.
Lovely, thank you.
This one's called Plants. I like plants, especially busy lizzies. They are a good attraction indoors as they adorn the home. When my grandmother was alive, she had an abundance of flowers and plants in her living room. She would constantly water them, talk to them, and the whole display was eye-catching. Whenever I went shopping with her to Deptford Market, she brought plants to put into her living room. I regard my grandmother as a very cultural woman who used to tell me many things about her growing up life in Jamaica. She told me that she can remember the first killing in the parish Portland where she was born. She was a very versatile woman who taught me a great deal. Her display of wonderful and glowing plants in her living room probably cemented the life experience and wonder of her homeland, Jamaica. Plants give you a good feeling and a positive energy. I have one which I got from Croydon Market, which I have drawn and had the picture in a compilation of work called Staying Connect. And this one is called I Love People. I am very fascinated by people because I believe that every man has a story, whether it's positive or negative. My opinion is that living good with each other is very healthy and rewarding. Growing up, I had many friends and I had a good friendship with them. When I was coming home from school, I used to go over to a friend of mine called Brian Hopkins, and I would be playing Subbuteo with him. Subbuteo was the great football game of yesterday. I was an easy to get along person and was always interested in people's interests. Like my best friend Robert Anang, who lived on the same road I lived. He had many albums and I used to listen to them with him. He would play Marillion, Supertramp, the Beatles, he had a great collection. And I can remember when he went and saw Bruce Springsteen in concert. My philosophy has always been to be cheerful and treat everyone with respect. These times are alien times. The aliens have taken over. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Steve. If only everyone treated everyone with respect, we'd have a better world, wouldn't we, Steve?
Totally.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. I'm just going to move over to Jim now. Jim, have you got anything for us, please? Unmuted, Jim? You're still muted.
I'm muted now, yeah. I
Unmuted, yeah.
was pressing on the one on the screen rather than the one down at the bottom, actually. I think white didn't
Know the
work.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah, there's, inspired by your sort of call girl poems and whatever. It's the theme is of these two poems is it's not easy being a man. First one's called Beatrice Descending. I try to summon up my Beatrice in every girl I see, but each time I fail, and my love becomes more and more unreal, like a tailor's dummy, opaque but transient as well, destined as it were for total meltdown. So I journey far and wide through purgatory and hell, always this pain in my heart, always cursed by some dark magician's spell. Then, oh miracle of heaven, I see her once again, an exact replica, her without a shadow of a doubt, Beatrice, my angel of purity, her face fixed on me, a long-suffering and tormented Dante. Look, she's offering her love to me and me alone. This goddess I'd thought once forever lost, her eyes shining forth from a genuine photograph in a London phone box. Yeah, that's the second poem is like on a similar kind of vein, really, I suppose, how it's not easy to be a man. This one's called A Transformation. His girlfriend woke up to inform him that overnight he'd been transformed into a giant wasp, complete with antennae, mandibles, and a sting sac, full of paralyzing venom. And she added that since the various components of his slick and shiny body would be in such close proximity to her own, and on a daily basis, she could no longer tolerate their relationship. It's a truly dreadful situation for me, she wailed, worse than any of my headaches. I'm afraid I must ask you to leave. Now, wait a minute, dear, he said. Might this not be seen as some ultimate test of a woman's redemptive love? In which case, if you were to perhaps kiss my eager throbbing abdomen, might this not restore my blissful image of your former much-loved prince? Absolutely not, she protested. I hate your snore. I hate the rustling of your wings, and I hate your truly awful insect cough. With this, she opened the window, stood aside, and watched as he buzzed off.
Spot on as usual, Jim.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it is a bit different world for some people, admittedly.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. And we're already round to Peter again.
I'm going to read a couple of poems by John McCulloch. First one is Dictionary Man, starts with a quote from James Murray, first editor of the Oxford English Dictionary. Sometimes the quest seems hopeless. Recently, for example, the word art, but utterly baffled me for several days. I am inside the language, suspended at my desk between abject and abjure. My devils are the weight and texture of sounds, the particular smile raised by my beloved's use of asinine, the tang it leaves at the back of the throat. I am doing this for English, but words are made of air. Quotations flap off in drafts. The other day I found alter ego under our bed. I have 50 sorts of abusion, not even 5 of abuse. There are too many expressions for how I am feeling, imprinted, blurred at my edges. D, K, and T wait in pasteboard boxes at the door, welcoming a Cerberus. When opening R, I discovered a dead rat. I have lost the 18th century, and Mr. Tyler holds GR to ransom. The vase debate stubbornly refusing to pass. The ghost words enter my dreams. They slide about my head on street signs, messages from my love. The Alcamoot is closing in. I am avunted, darling. Please help. I wake at my desk, chastened and sweating, encrusted with names. And the disappearance of St. Anthony's Church. Hard to tell exactly when it vanished. Local rumour says late or early summer. They stole the thing discreetly, brick by brick, an anti-miracle. Curt officials blame the village, but no infidel's been punished. The 2 best clues are chiselled by a tomb, a distant maze of tyre marks from a truck, though some insist that these came later. They left behind foundations, one unwanted wall, and a different view of pines, the snaking river. Next spring, the first grass sprouted in the nave, the chancellor's earth disturbed only by lovers, and the odd partridge hunting for snails, or a place to rest in silence for a while. And let's read this, Circumference. In Alexandria, on the longest day, the chief librarian bent down beside a sundial to measure the world. He linked its pillar's height and shadow to an angle in Syene, where at solstice the sun glares straight down the well. From this, a magic sum, a number men cannot carry which encircles the earth, reveals the size of everything. Me, I have my doubts about the fervour he has caused, these hordes who press for news about the next more vast expanse. The sky isn't tall enough, stars will never do. There was talk last month of plotting the distance to the afterlife. The librarian proclaimed the age of final answers. I hear tonight a priestess plans to ring his house with dung. That's from John McCulloch.
Very good. Yes, I'm not quite sure where that leads, but I think ancient knowledge was amazing, and we only just getting a grip on how much people knew in the past, really. Yeah. Right. Couple of because we just had Armistice Day, I've got a couple of poems about that. Time Does Not Teach. From Limehouse to Lymington, Dundee to Dungeness, they went for king and country for to don their battle dress. Drawn from cottage and from mansion, gutters, farms and smoky slums, drilled to follow orders, to keep on marching on in the face of bombs and guns. It was not for them to question the folly of it all, or muse on who might run on any single day, whose courage might succeed or fail when huddling in the soaked and blasted clay, where screaming shells scalp the land of every tree. Here the wary and the fearful, the brave and the bold, would find their thin thread of sanity too difficult to hold. Some came back lame or crazy, others never made it home. Many more have followed the lesson never learned, that no more young men should be buried beneath a war-torn loam. That's that one. And slightly more modern, this is The Winter Soldier. The winter soldier has ice in his heart. He will do whatever he's told. He's not complete. He's just a part of a machine to take and to hold. At whatever stands, the winter soldier will aim his rifle at whatever stands in his way. Opposing voices he will stifle. Only his orders have any sway. The winter soldier has no guilt, no sense of right or wrong, no concern for any blood that's spilt, or of being where he doesn't belong. The winter soldier aims the rocket that splinters families' homes. He holds many lives in his pocket, not bothered by their burning bones. The winter soldier isn't called to account. He's only doing what he's been told. And all his dark deeds he will discount as being daring, brave and bold. The winter soldier feels no fright, but there'll be visits in the years ahead. Ghosts will point their fingers in the night, and he will meet the many dead. Right. And just on a lighter note, this is called Life's Little Niggles. Life's Little Niggles. Eye contact, a Google found fact, lunchtime meeting, friends who are fleeting, no biscuits, losing wickets, live chats with a prat, surprise party, the overhearty, traffic diversions, religious conversions, cones, drones, planned engineering, those who drive without steering, drilling up roads, those who buy up loads, a sing-along, smells at the strong, cold callers, fast lane crawlers, party political broadcasts, no rain again forecasts, too much rain, those who complain of pain, signal failure, a win by Australia, price cap, a mouse in a trap, the energy bill, you forgetting your pill, team building, lily gilding, leadership contest, losing a test, unexpected item, bills ad infinitum, microwave tea, jeans out of the knee, meter reading, income receding, winter shivers, polluted rivers, pop round, parched ground, tax return, the rich who don't earn, those who dodge their tax, those who never ring back, junk mail, drunk mail, dog poo on the pavement, dog poo on the shoe, boring days with little to do, nuisance texts and nuisance calls, the feeling the state has grabbed your balls, loud garden parties, pretend arty farties, scam artists, bad wall artists, modern charts hits, those who leer over tits, little outs, hay fever bouts, loud music on trains, smelly drains, those who moan when it rains, those with unearned gains. Oh, if you see me when I'm out, I'll say, not much to complain about. There you go.
Brilliant. George,
Hey, thank you, everybody.
George, I've just seen my life flash before me with that one.
Yeah, well, I think as I get older, I get more miserable and find more to complain about.
That was excellent.